on this, Shay, because I find that a lot of the alternative media, whilst their intention is to help us to transcend the dark matrix, they're often so negative in their approach because they're also feeding that same narrative of doom and gloom and look what's wrong in the world. So really they've become almost the mainstream media because they're keeping us in a fear loop. Now, I understand that's not their intention. Their intention is to help. So what are the subtle differences between those people like, I mean, of course, I'm very biased for Earth Heroes TV, but what Earth Heroes TV is doing with raising the consciousness, speaking to what's going on in the world, but not getting drawn into the downward spiral of everything's negative. So can you speak to that a little bit more?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for inviting me to share. And I just want to acknowledge Sovereign's, beautiful articulation of syntropy and the movement, essentially, because this is, again, beyond one singular platform, or one video or one person. This is a collaborative, and that's what syntropy is all about. It's acknowledging, and as I spoke to earlier around, the extremes, and sometimes we can get caught into the extremes of fear, and then we can swing back to the full extreme of letting go into love. And, I would actually like to invite all the listeners right now, if you've got a pen and piece of paper, just grab it and put it right in front of you and draw a line down the middle. It's a simple practice because I have found myself on that pendulum swing and being super afraid and full of shame and embarrassment and guilt on an internal level, and then looking out into the world and realizing, oh my God, things are really pretty stuffed up right now. And then, swinging onto the other end of the spectrum at the same time. And so finding that middle point, that 0 point, that plane of inertia, that balance of understanding, that we have the potential to implement these solutions if we choose, and learning from the darkness on that side of the spectrum. So down the line, on one side you can write entropy, on the other side you can write syntropy, on one side you can write darkness, and on the other side you can write light. These are just archetypes of exploring and understanding that we have this potential to walk the line in the middle, or swing from side to side. And part of the inspiration to open up this conversation and start this platform was mostly to focus more towards a solution, because that was something I acknowledged in the world I found myself in, that things are pretty destructive and on the entropic side. And I wanted to explore what are the possibilities for us to tap into so that we can create this new earth experience, and we can be a part of the solution for our world. And so it led me on a journey to make a film, which we released on the platform called the Regeneration, which Sovereign is also a part of, based on a catalytic trip going over to Vanuatu, where I got to experience at firsthand the polarities of life, going from this westernized, cultured kind of world where everything seems to be entropic. It's full of cement. We're pumping pollution into the air. It's in our water. The food we eat is very, poisonous and a lot of the times processed and actually not real food, as opposed to the other end of the spectrum on this side of experience of being in Vanuatu. And it was like these people were living on the land. They're using what's available. They're making use of their available resources, growing their own food, living in community. And it was a great experience for me to recognize that we have seemingly gone quite extremely off track in this Western world, and that there's a lot of deep conditioning and programming that has occurred to accept that as normal. And even in my own experience of growing up in this world, and going to that dark night of my own soul, realizing that I was super egoic and on this individualistic train where it was all about me, and consuming and competing, and then having to swing it in the other end of the spectrum to recognize the value and seeing the collective syntropic. And when we just look at the words of syntropy, it's synergy, it's symbiosis, it's syntropic. It's about us coming into symmetrical kind of cohesion, understanding that together life doesn't function on its own. It takes collaborative effort when we understand that all of life is interconnected and integrated into the collective ecosystem of the whole. And that's been a huge journey, is recognizing that I had been so conditioned from my own experience to see this illusion of separation, that I am me and that they is them, and that we are different and we're separate, to coming to this point to recognize the beyond the layers and the patterns and the deeper depths of my own mind, heart, and deeper soul, is that ultimately what science now confirms through quantum physics is that there is actually no quantity. When we understand the layers of nature, it's all a vibration and frequency, and so that it's a wave and it's a pattern and it's a vibration. And so understanding my life and how I relate to nature through that syntropic lens of recognizing that it is all interconnected helped me to really reflect on and ask those questions. How do I want to treat, the world that I find myself in? How do I want to treat myself? What feelings do I want to feel? And that has led me to ultimately do the work, because I've had to go deeper in myself and realize all of these old patterns that I had been, programmed with in that entropic world, and realize, wow, there's a lot to fix in this space, and slowly like unravel it and, recreate it. So the idea of the platform was to ultimately share in a communal space the inspiration and the motivation, the empowerment, the education and information that's relevant to move forward as a collective and doing this together. And so you'll recognize that it's not about any one individual, it's not about this practice or that practice, but there are many modalities for healing. There are many wise sages who are walking amongst us. There are many amazing, inspiring people. And oftentimes what inspires me the most is the community members who are just part of the platform. They're not necessarily sharing anything, but they're showing up every week in these community conversations and just sharing their gifts in that beautiful, safe environment. And so the platform has exponentially grown beyond my imagination, based on the principles of, how powerful we are as a collective. And that's something that I've really come to understand, is that the most powerful technology that we have today is the human being, especially when we come together. It's like one human being is super powerful, two human beings is like exponentially powerful, and then it grows from there. And it's like suddenly, if we're speaking into the field of where we're at and what our perspective and lens that we see, then suddenly we realize that when we do that in circle, there's so many people that have so many different gifts, and that I can just, serve my little purpose and my function in the greater cosmic wheel of life that we find ourselves in. And that just by fulfilling my small journey, my part in that larger cog of the wheel, I'm serving the greater collective whole. And I can find meaning in that in my life. I found meaning because I'm contributing to something bigger than myself, something that is helping life, that is helping people, that is helping us move, helping the earth. And it just feels on a deeper level just so fulfilling. It's like, wow, I've been searching for these feelings of meaning and fulfillment for so long in external measures, by taking and consuming and competing. And now it's like, wow, I can find that within myself when I get to contribute in a communal setting and feel valued and appreciated and acknowledged. And it just transcends, all of those limiting beliefs that were there and holding me back and blocking me. And it opens up this new river of just like, it's like just beauty. And oftentimes emotion. I've been crying a lot recently, and I've recognized, wow, I had stifled a lot of emotions as a youngling. And now that I'm opening up to, this new transcendent way of being, it's like, wow, I'm full of emotion and so much tears of joy and love and laughter. And yeah, it's just great to be on this journey. And I just appreciate you guys watching right now, and both of you guys for sharing, because I realize I know very little and I have so much to learn, which is so exciting, but also scary at the same time, because it's like living life on the edge of a forest, or the edge of society, or the edge of, my comfort zone. That's where the magic has happened. That's where the mystery is revealed. and just trusting and having deep sense of faith that things are going to unfold in divine timing and just unfold naturally and organically, and if I continue to come from that place of service and love, that it's going to just be beautiful and magical. So that's just kind of where I'm at and exploring, and yeah, it just feels good.